Good afternoon, one and all present here. It is a moment of great privilege and honor for me to extend a heart welcome to all of you today to the sixth chapter of Lead Series. I hope you all must be delighted and thankful to the Asian Education Group for constantly making efforts to upscale, rescale, and upgrade the knowledge and experience of their students. Leadership and Entrepreneurship Development Program has invited top industry professionals wherein they share their high-valued experiences, guide students towards innovative thinking, benefits of new ventures, self-development, and attributes for being an effective and efficient leader. With the same perspective, we have with us our guest for today, Mr. Kartik Rao, Chief of Staff and Head HR, Bewakoof.com. An HR expert with over 10 years of remarkable experience and expertise in business HR strategy, organization development, change management, talent management, mergers and acquisitions, succession planning, organizational restructuring and design. He holds a staunch knowledge of business HR in select regions of Europe and Southeast Asia and understands working in cross-culture borders across multiple teams effectively. In short, where systems, processes, people, and innovation interplay, he is a master there. He has had his exposure with various renowned firms such as Benetton Group, Housing.com, and now with Bewakoof.com, which I'm sure requires no introduction amongst the youngsters. With a very warm heart, we welcome you, sir. Now, I would request you to please take the session forward and enlighten our students with your valuable knowledge and experiences.
Right. All right. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. Garima, thank you so much for this elaborate experience and introduction. One thing that I've kind of really understood over the years is, and Chaplin said it, we all amateurs till we die, and nobody lives long enough to be a master. So I would say that I think I've been lucky to work across 9 countries and various continents. And I'm really excited and happy to be back with the students. This is something that I do regularly. So Tata Institute of Social Sciences is a place where I go regularly and talk to students. So really excited. So I come from a bit of a psychology background, organization psychology. So I'll be sharing a lot more of the why than just the what, because I feel that's where the magic lies in the times to come. Right. I was actually talking to someone recently, and I said, history doesn't repeat itself. Human behavior does. Right. And I think that's exactly where you'll see a constant loop. Why over 100 years, the problem statements for companies have remained same. How do we hire the best talent? How do we engage the best talent? How do we retain the best talent? Right. So let me kind of share some light on that in terms of how organizations have been working till now, and how will the organizations work in the future. And one thing is, nobody for sure knows what is going to happen. But I can definitely give you at least where we predict where the market and the companies are about to go. Right? So let's talk about how do organizations work. How does your college work? Right. So effectively, the worldwide, all organizations are designed on something called the theory of reductionism. It's a Darwin theory, which said if there is a complex problem, break it into small parts, solve the small parts and reassemble the problem, and you've solved a bigger problem. So then what is the larger problem here? Organization. Company chalani hai is a big problem to solve. So what will we do? We will actually break and simplify this problem, wherein I'll say technology head technology dekhega, sales head will look at sales, a business development head will look at business development, IT head will look at IT, and then HR will look after people. And problem with that approach is that if you have a hammer, everything that you look at is a nail, right? So whenever you reach out to HR, you'll tell them there is a problem. They'll say, ya to hire kar lo, या फायर कर लो, या ट्रेनिंग दे दो, या पीआईपी पे डाल देते हैं. ये चार के अलावा कभी यूनिवर्सली organizations have not thought, because HR at least has not thought. And I think COVID has made people really zoom out and say, okay, what happened here? Uh, People are same. Situations have changed. I can't change people. So there has to be a different variable than people, right? Uh, and that's where probably my reflections came from what COVID has done, right? I'll share my bit from my limited knowledge. I think one of the first things that COVID has done is it has changed the definition of work from home. So I think every time my mom used to tell me, "Aaj work from home," I was like, "nahi, nahi, possible nahi hai, I have to go to office." But suddenly in the last 4 months, I'm super comfortable working at home, doing home stuff, helping her with utensils because the maid can't come. And suddenly there is a renewed respect for work from home. And now you almost value a lot of women associates who were earlier managing home and work, and we almost thought it's easy. But I think at least for a guy, I think it was a very humble realization. Okay, so I think COVID has been a great gender equalizer. Suddenly this male female कि इस जॉब के लिए लड़के सही हैं, इस जॉब में लड़कियां नहीं कर पाएंगी, घर और वर्क कैसे मैनेज होगा. Suddenly it's a gender equalizer, everybody's on the same page. Right, and that was a very interesting reflection for me, because COVID is not going anywhere, at least for next 1.5 years. And that's what economists are saying, that's what the investors who have invested are saying. And interestingly, before COVID came to India, before lockdown was announced, Sequoia Capital, one of the world's largest investors on the planet, had sent a memo which called COVID the black swan of 2020. And it was sent to all the portfolio companies and said, this is going to be the black swan, careful. And I think organizations did not understand the impact of it at that time. Right. Now, what happened when COVID came? The second thing which really changed was it became a talent equalizer. And your students especially will be, so there'll be a lot of mix of men and women. So I can promise you all the girls, COVID has become a gender equalizer. So no more any guy will say, okay, this is a job good for guys or girls, It's a very fair, square playing field. Second is it's become a talent equalizer. So in my team, I had certain people who were really great performers, really superstars. And like it or not, if you study Gallup, it said it's almost unnatural not to have favorites. So students में भी होता है कि ये professor का favorite है, right? It purely comes from the fact that we have our favorite food, we have a favorite phone, we have a favorite cricketer, we have a favorite footballer. If we also have a favorite parent कि यार मम्मी ज़्यादा अच्छी है, पापा उतने अच्छे नहीं है. Then how is it possible कि in a college or at a workplace you will not have favorites? So favoritism is a great thing. So in our company, we actually promote that have favorites and then talk why are these people my favorites. And favoritism is different from biasness, where I'm saying, I don't like this person because I don't like it. But now that is wrong. But favoritism, all up. We actually recommend people to have favorites and then talk about why they are favorite. So in COVID, before COVID, I had certain people I really liked who were superstars, working very hard, really apple of the eye. And suddenly when COVID happened, suddenly people who were not the superstars were far more receptive, far more able to adjust to this new change, far more techno savvy, and suddenly my definition of talent also changed. So I used to have a theory of what the talent looks like, but suddenly post COVID, new talents came up, new people became superstars, and those superstars pre-COVID suddenly were very rigid, not willing to move, not willing to do this project. My screen time is increasing. And that's where probably our second realization for me came was, okay, you know what, COVID is a great talent equalizer. let's not box talent in a particular way. And I think now organizations are realizing it. So what you will see is gig economy is going to become really, really big. And gig economy is where people like stand-up comedians come in for a gig. You lead talent as a gig performer. You'll be willing to take up projects for short times, deliver results, then move to a new company or a same company in a different project. So it's no more, at least how I see, going to be about an assured, talent career path. And especially a lot of students starting off, there are two kinds of careers you can have. One is what I call camp climber, and then there are surfers. So if you will see a mountaineer, he'll have a view of the mountaintop. He'll have camps at every milestone, and then he'll reach. And there are some people who build their careers like surfers. They'll get onto the surf, fall a few times, take up new something, go to a different wave. And this COVID is a great time for those people who are surfers and not just campers. In conventional times, camping was great. Which company did you work? Okay, why did you move? What was your experience? Why did you leave after 1 year? Now with COVID, they will ask you, what can you achieve for me in 1 year? Because probably the project doesn't require people more than a year. So I think the talent definition has changed as I see. Another interesting pattern which I think COVID has done is it has brought out a lot of non-communicative managers to fore. It's much more easy when you're physically talking to students, or if you're physically in a meeting room. But suddenly now students had to take lectures online. Professors had to give lectures online. We had to talk to our teams through a screen. And if you're not a great communicator, you will get exposed. So I think COVID really exposed people's ability to truly say, am I a good communicator? Can I hold a bunch of 200 people on the screen for 1 hour? And if you're not a good communicator, if your content is not impressive, if you're not able to connect to them, they'll leave. Or even at least, even if they're attending, they'll switch off, right? So I think it has really brought new competencies to the table. As I said, COVID is not going anywhere. I have worked very closely with the CEO of Levi's and Benetton and Pepe Jeans. And I was talking to them and they said, they don't know, this is the new normal. And now everybody's figuring out a way to come online, right? Lifestyle is a brand I'm sure all of you will know. Lifestyle is chasing us that, can you put our products on your website? Because we have too much stock to sell. Now, who would have thought of that day where a brand selling 2,000 crores is going to come to a brand selling 250 crores and saying, okay, you have the traffic, we have the product, can you help us sell it? So I think the definition of talent, the definition of gender, the definition of how we look at business, everything has changed. And that is, I think, going to be the most fascinating aspect of what I see at least COVID is going to bring. What are companies doing? I think, so when the Titanic was about to sink, there were lobsters in the kitchen who felt this was a stroke of God to save them, right? So everything that brings problem to a set of people will also bring benefit to a lot of people. So I think people who are planning their career will have to be very, very selective about the kind of industry they will pick. Because I can promise you, online business is going to see the kind of surge that it has not seen in the last 20 years. For us, we are already at 70–80% of our business, even when the country lockdown continues. So if I was doing 20 crores a month, I'm already doing almost 14 crores this month. Now, this is telling you the recovery for an online business is so big that offline business is really going to struggle. So my brother is the head of HR for Max Insurance. Insurance industry has taken a huge surge because suddenly now a lot more companies want to do insurance of their employees because government has mandated it. A lot of parental cover has kicked in. And suddenly a lot of healthcare industry, which I always believed is recession proof, is taking a huge surge. So instead of picking companies, I would say pick industries, because you might have a great company like Levi's, which is a US conglomerate doing crores of business, but right now is finding it difficult to open a store. All right. So don't pick companies, pick industries. If you're on a rocket ship, it doesn't matter which seat you get. You'll go to this space. So I think as long as you're getting into the rocket ship, uh, be a little flexible about, how much of the role you're getting in overlap, how much of compensation you're getting in overlap. I think that really is the second thing that I would strongly recommend as the upcoming trend. Another interesting thing that's happening that I think all of you should consider. I don't know if some of the students have experience before or not, but a lot of great talent is available now uh, to the companies that are seeing a surge in business. So we recently offered the design head of India of Levi's to join to Bewakoof. Now, this is a really interesting move because this guy has almost a decade of experience, has worked with Mean Benetton, has worked with Levi's, has worked with a lot of designer brands. And now suddenly top talent from top companies are willing to switch to online business. So I think there is a huge availability of a talent pool, which is there. So some of the really interesting trends are these on the surface that I see. Mm, uh, Industries, the kind of roles. Oyo Rooms, which is one of the biggest Indian companies of late, actually rolled back more than 2,000 offers for Indian students, and a lot of them applied to Bewakoof, and they really felt, that. So our question in the interview, our question was, what if you get an offer back from Oyo before you join us? And they said we would still not want it. Because I think a lot of people are wanting to go into a better industry than to a better company. Oyo naturally is bigger than us, but it doesn't interest too many people now because of the volatility. So this is what we have seen of late. Uh, and because the definition of talent has changed, the definition of talent management has also changed. The definition of hiring has also changed. In my research that I've been doing in the last 10 years, human beings operate fairly similarly, in most circumstances. So I've been researching on the hiring process of a lot of companies, and I'll be happy to share some insight, because a lot of you, when you go for the interview, these hacks will really help you prepare better and know from an interviewing standpoint, how do people think. And I'll share a bit of scientific research and a bit of data points for you to get some sense. So here is the first proven fact on hiring. Most hiring decisions are done within the first 3 minutes of hiring. So you entered a room, you said hello, you said your name, the person looked at your resume, looked at your college name, looked at which city you came from, looked at broadly your companies. It's just about 3 minutes that would have done. The person already has made up his or her mind whether they want to hire you or not. And this is what we call in psychology a confirmation bias. So now I have decided in the 3 minutes that I'm going to hire this person. And if I've decided that, I will spend next 30 minutes looking for reasons to hire you. And if I've decided I don't want to hire you, next 30 minutes, I will look for reasons to reject you, because my mind is conditioned to a decision. And now everything that I do after that is going to prove. And after 30 minutes, every interview becomes a self-satisfying prophecy. See, मैंने बोला था अच्छा candidate है या मैंने बोला था बेकार candidate है. Now that's the danger which most organizations face today, right? And we did a research around it. So we got two set of resumes, which has same number of experience, which has same number of years of experience. Everything in the resume is same, except a few things. We changed the gender and the name. We changed the city they came from. We changed their college. And we changed some of their hobbies and interest. And we sent one same resume. You are the same person, only a few aesthetic details are changed. And the person who shot for the same role, by the way, sales executive. The person in Bombay rejected certain people, which the person in Delhi selected. So clearly in the same company, for the same role, two different leaders in two different cities for the same set of resumes have a different choice just because we have changed just the name, age, experience. And just on that, they have made a consensus at a resume level. Now imagine if at a resume level, that kind of bias can kick in, what can happen at an interview level, right? So there are a lot of organizations who are focusing on hiring, how to hire. So Garima, do you know how to drive?
Yes, I do that every day.
Yeah, so you have trained for it, right? You
Yeah.
trained for it. You took. I'm sure you know cooking.
Yes.
So you would have trained
Some
for it,
extent.
right? Yes, you have trained. So every time you made something first, you trained for it. But hiring is one skill everybody thinks सब पैदा हुए हैं. The moment you're a manager, resume लेके क्या चार सवाल ही तो पूछने हैं. And with that kind of mindset, people have never been trained on how to take an interview. And that really is the start point where a lot of organizations make hiring decisions, make wrong hiring decisions, and that lands up screwing a lot of careers for a lot of students, right? So for the students that are here who are going to apply, I'll be more than happy to help you on how to make a powerful resume. A lot of people write essays and resumes of what they have done and which project they were a part of. But effectively, there is a technique on how you can write a powerful resume. There is a technique on interviews are no rocket science. Most people actually don't prepare for an interview. And that's what we have seen post-COVID. So one of the questions we ask, a lot of people. So in my company, when I'm hiring, some of the questions that we ask, and now post-COVID, it's even more important is, when was the last time you apologized at work? And you'll be amazed, people don't remember it. When was the last time I actually myself said, sorry, listen, I screwed up. Not designed for it, So we ask people, are you lucky? Do you feel you're a lucky human being? Or what is your competitive advantage? And some people, so there is this girl that I interviewed and she gave the most amazing answer. And she said, yes, I am lucky because I'm born with my five senses. Imagine if I couldn't see or hear or talk. And what we have realized is people who are naturally very high on gratitude don't need to be motivated a lot. It's only the people who constantly have the they find problem in every solution. These are the people, So one candidate gave me an answer. Yes, I am born with a competitive advantage because I'm born in India. Imagine if I was born in Uganda or Kenya or Zimbabwe. Imagine what my career trajectory could be. So even the country you're born in, even the family you're born in, you are born with a competitive advantage. Do you reflect on that? So as a candidate, now companies are reviewing a lot of these things because people are going to work remote. The manager will not be there to motivate you every day. So what do? You hire people who are naturally motivated, naturally positive, people who are naturally inclined to look at the positive side of things, right? And there is a case study which we do usually. wherein two salesmen went to Africa for a shoe business, both different companies, say a Nike or Adidas. They went to Africa. One person said, okay, he wrote a letter back saying, nobody wears shoes here. There is no point bringing a factory. Let's go back. And the other salesman said, wow, nobody wears shoes here. Let's get two factories here because nobody wears it right now. Now, same situation, two salespeople, absolutely different perspectives on how they look at the situation. I think that's going to be one of the most important skills that corporates are going to look at. Do I need to sit on top of this guy's or girl's head to make the job done? If yes, it'll be a problem. I have a niece, she's 3 years old. When she falls on the ground, my sister-in-law hits the ground and says, Gira diya mere bachche ko. Now, a 3-year-old child is getting conditioned that she was right and floor was wrong. That's the introduction to feedback in life. And then we say the school was tough, the college was tough, the exam was tough. 25 years of mental conditioning that my child is right and everybody else is wrong. You go to a job and your manager says, listen, you have a problem. What do you think the person's response is going to be? The person responds, you have a problem. I have always been told that I was right. What are you talking about? Even in school or colleges, I don't know how does it happen at ABS, but at least historically, the schools always have CGPA, and it always has a gold medalist. It always has a rank 1, rank 2, rank 3. Now that's great, but problem is you have conditioned the child all his or her life to operate like an individual contributor that only I can come first. There is only one first. And the moment these people come to work, manager says co-individually, it's a teamwork. The brain doesn't understand. The brain has been conditioned to operate like an individual contributor that I am only the one who can come first. So every time you ask a team member, are you willing to stretch for the other guy? No, because if I stretch for you, he might become the number one because I'm supposed to be. So now a lot of workshops are happening at least TIS where we work, wherein we said we want to get away with the whole concept of CGPA rank 1 to 3. We want to talk about a group coming first or a particular group winning rather than individuals winning, and that's something we are even looking at office and work. So one of the things interview mein what you will see is a lot of companies looking at, are you somebody who always has a lot of I, or you're willing to give credit to the team for the work that you do, especially because you'll be sitting remote now. So even more your ability will be important. Uh, you know, I'm sure you've had sessions before. A lot of people have spoken about empathy. A lot. And my view is that we don't need empathy. I think we need compassion. Uh, Empathy is I understand your pain. Okay, how does it solve my job? You understand I'm struggling with scores, but how does it solve my problem? So I think a lot of companies, at least what we are doing is, imagine you're climbing a mountain, you see a huge rock on someone's chest. Now, if you're very high on empathy, you will say, okay, you know what, I feel your pain. Compassion is helping the person remove the rock. So I think we are also looking for a lot of people and managers and team members who don't just understand, they're willing to do something about it. And those are the kind of skills which are becoming somehow so much more important in COVID that I cannot reiterate enough. These are some of the really stark, obvious conversations, because we have some managers who are control freaks. They want to control things, situations, people, and they are struggling big time, because they can't now reach people. People are not logging in. Now, what do? You can call, you can do all of that, but people are, so you suddenly have to let go a lot of control and say, okay, you know what, I have to trust people. And that involves a lot of compassion, that involves a lot of letting go, which I'm sure even at a professor level, I think a lot of professors really want to be close to students, and you have to let them go now. There is no other way. So I think those are some of the observations, Garima. I could elaborate more if they come in the Q&A, but
Sure,
these are
sure.
some things I would like to say.
I think they've gathered a lot from you, starting from the mental conditioning, which is very, very relevant, and it starts from the very childhood,
Right.
and it continues. Also, this importance of taking action and compassion. These are very pragmatic sources of information which our students can actually imbibe in. We have lots of questions coming in related to that. If you're comfortable, shall we start with the Q&A?
Yes, absolutely.
The first one says that how do you see the future of e-commerce business in India? What key skills are required for this particular industry?
Right. So I think the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So I'll ask you, in last 2 months, how many times did you go to a restaurant? How many times did you order from Swiggy, Zomato? How much did you shop online versus offline? So I think the writing is clear on the wall. I think e-commerce, online, and technology in general is going to be a large part of our lives. Even my father, who never really did a video call, has started doing video calls now. So I think it's no more a luxury that whether I have a choice or not, you have to be online. One, because of the accessibility. One, because of the ease. Third, because of the variety, because real estate is really costly, but online real estate is relatively much cheaper. Amazon can place more than 1 crore products on online, but in an offline store, you can't do that. So I think online, e-commerce, and direct to consumer, all three are going to see the biggest surge. You can look at the kind of acquisitions that have been done in the last 10 years. Look at Ambani selling off the oil refinery to Saudi and bringing in Geo. And mind you, Ambani doesn't look at Geo as a phone company. It is pitching it as a technology company. So he clearly understands the value of online and tech and e-commerce. GeoMart tie up with WhatsApp. So WhatsApp money is coming soon. The moment WhatsApp money comes, Google Pay, Paytm, everything are going to get aside. So I think Ambani, the visionary that he is, he's already shifted from oil and refinery, which used to be his cash cow for last 100 years, to Geo, to GeoMart, to Agio.com. So I think he has already started pivoting this 5 years. I think COVID has just augmented it. And what skill sets are required for people? I think your natural flair for technology. Are you someone who naturally loves the fast-paced environment, the fast-paced decision-making, process versus people? I think if you're in an IBM, input doesn't matter, output. So, geography also matters a lot. So if you go to IBM, input doesn't matter, output doesn't matter, because they've put the whole company on a process. As opposed to e-commerce, where process won't be there, because the things change so quickly that you have to adopt things at a much faster rate. So I think agility, your natural flair for technology, and speed is what I think people will need.
Sure. The second question is, how does a fresh graduate need to prepare for meeting the industry requirement, especially during COVID-19 times?
Right.
Maybe the student is looking after the skill set which is required, being
Right.
a fresher.
Right. So I think first set is resume. I think your first level shortlisting typically happens at a resume level, unless you're sitting in a placement committee. I don't know what the culture is now, but I think having a powerful resume is really important. Now, what skill set do you need? I think typically the rule of hiring is hire for attitude and train for skill. Rather than hiring people for skill and then training them for attitude, it's much more difficult. So I think, as I said, there is a report from Conferry which said mobility is going to be number one competence in the future. I cannot leave my hometown, has become a skill now. How flexible are you to travel, to leave your comfort zone, to leave your hometown? And so I think your skills like mobility, your ability to learn. The problem is all these are theoretically very nice to hear. But question is, if a good interviewer, and if you say, listen, I am somebody who likes to learn, they will grill you and they'll figure out whether you're actually an avid learner or you're just bluffing. So I would rather say you say things that you really are and you really mean, rather than saying answers that are nice to hear. Because if the interviewer is good, it'll take them exactly 45 minutes to scan and figure out. So a lot of people in my company say, I love to learn. I want learning. I want growth. Money is not important. And I asked them one question. When was the last time you paid money from your own pocket to do an additional course? And none of them would have paid. They're waiting for a company to sponsor a program. So I'm saying skill set is be honest, be who you are, and sell who you really can offer. Because even if you are able to bluff in an interview, you will join a company, in 3 months, you'll start struggling and you look for another job. So you're delaying the problem. So I don't think there is no standard answer. Every company needs a different skill. Just see who you actually are and don't bluff.
I think when you said mobility, a lot of students would have related to it because this is where they stop and they need to learn that it is important. Next question is, what should a company do to retain its high potential talent?
So, okay, it's an interesting question. Different people need different things at different points of their life. So there is no standard answer. So when I was 22, 23, I wanted a company which has a great party culture, a chill boss, a lot of beanbag and foosball tables, and a fun working environment with some learning. But 3 years later, I was okay to have some less of fun, but I wanted more learning. And once I learned, by 30, I said, listen, dude, I want more money and I want a bigger role. Learn कर लिया, अभी implement करने के लिए playground चाहिए. So, and today at 32, for me, what really matters is what am I adding value to? Whatever I'm doing, is it solving a larger purpose of the company? When you say what does company need to do to retain its top talent, the first question is, listen, don't give them what you have, give them what they want. Because Kartik at 22 wanted something very different at 25, wanted something very different at 29, and still want something very different at 32. There are no templated answers for these kind of problems. And for you, if you're asking what, if I am a top talent, what company should do to retain me? Just be vocal about what you want and be ready to compromise on something else. So that's what I would recommend.
So surely it's about openness to change, I guess. We have another question saying, is India ready to work on the gig economy model? And how do you see the effect of the same on business?
You're never ready. So tell me one person who's ready for COVID. So I don't think, you're ever ready because change inherently is difficult. If you have studied change management ever in your life, you'll figure out the first step to change is resistance. You don't believe me? Try getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. The first day will be, so the first will be resistance. But question is, do you have a choice now? So most times people don't stop eating sweets till they get sugar. And from next day, they suddenly stop eating. Now, because it has come down to survival. So I think gig is, so I was talking to my CPTO, he's an ex-Amazon. He's joined us from Carrefour, which is a very big company in US, in UK, my pardon.
You can, yeah.
So when he came, the first thing he said was, there are certain roles where I don't want these people through the year. Can we hire people on a variable pay model where every time a big release on technology is happening, they can come for 3 months? So it's happening to me. Uh, it's better you do it because your button seat cost is very high for tech folks. So what you really need is a variable pay model, and honestly you don't have a choice if you're not ready. So I don't know, Garima, I don't know, but is the law of diffusion of innovation a concept that gets studied with students in management? The law of
Somewhat.
diffusion, right?
Somewhat, yes.
Right. So the law of diffusion of innovation, every innovation that takes place in the world, in the history of mankind, there is a scientific way to arrive to it. So the first 2.5% people are called innovators. What truly innovative? Elon Musk, who said, I'll have a self-driving car. Now that's an innovator. Only 2.5% people would do that. Now, the second set of population which comes is an early adopter. They see these people, they early quickly come and adopt. Third is the early majority. And then there is a late majority, and then there is a laggard. You rather be an innovator or an early adopter for gig economy, else you'll die.
Sure. Next question is, what advice would you like to offer to our students who are aspiring for HR career?
So I have a vacancy in HR.
Surely they're getting after you now.
So I think every company's role in HR is very different. See, as I said, I'm not a big fan of sweeping general answers. What a HR does in Infosys is very different from what a HR will do in Wipro or Zomato. Because on the age and stage of the company, the role of HR keeps changing. But if you really talk about e-commerce, or if you really talk about effectively core competence of HR, I think start falling in love with data. I think HR people have been trained to fall in love with people, which is great. I would say fall in love with the right people. You can't keep everyone happy. So one of the fundamentals that we have is sabka saath, sabka vikas is not something every organization can do. So you build a capitalistic model wherein you reward the best people and you penalize the bad ones. So I think as HR, I think one point, if I had to say, everybody has trained you to take care of people. I would say take care of data as well. It's going to be the demand of the future.
So things like HR analytics should be more into.
So let me give you a very brief example of what I mean. Org structure is like, even your college has an org structure. There will be a dean and there are professors and students. Org structure is like X-ray. Dikhta hai, broad blueprint. Culture is like ultrasound. Surface pe dikhta nahi hai. So I can be in HR, but I'm very close to somebody in finance team. Now, every information of the company is going to that finance guy. Even though he's a junior person, is he more powerful than a lot of senior folks? Absolutely. So we did a technological intervention, which is called ONA, Organization Network Analysis, in which we studied who are the kind of people that you reach out to, and who are the kind of people who reach out to you. And very simple 7 questions. One question will be, who do you go to when you want to take a career advice? Another question, who do you go to when you want to know what's happening in the organization? Third will be, who do you go to when you want to take a career advice or a personal advice? And there's 7 questions. And you'll realize, I talk to Garima talks to Imanshu talks to Ravi, but Ravi again comes and talks to me. Then in that whole process, I am the most powerful person. So what we are working on is your network strength rather than your power strength. So Modi is powerful, but in India. Trump is powerful, but in US. But if Sachin Tendulkar goes to anywhere in the world, he's very powerful. Why? Because he has influence. And now what we're trying to figure out is who are the influencers in the company who may not be in the org structure, but are driving a lot of organization decisions. So those kind of technology interventions I'm talking about. HR analytics is one. HR analytics will give you data. It will not tell you what to do with it.
Right. I'm sure this was very helpful for our HR students. Since you mentioned time and again about the resume, this is one repeated question which students are sending, that what are the few things we should keep in mind while making a powerful resume?
Don't copy the objective. I see a lot of resumes where people write objective, which is really nice and flashy, and usually is copied from somewhere they read. But on a serious note, so there is a particular way to write a resume, at least what I recommend. So I have done X with Y resources and delivered Z results. It's a framework that I'm sharing with you, that I have done a sale of 100 crores with just 3-member team. With a year, last year, the sale number was 50 crores. Now that's a very interesting, effective, direct way of saying, what did I do? What is the significance of it? I might have done 100 crores today, but what if the last year was 150 crores? So always write, where was the situation where you came? What changed after you came? And what was your contribution in that change? I think it's the most simplistic and purposeful way of writing a resume. One, it makes it very, very crisp because you're talking about outcomes. A lot of people just write about what they did. Okay, you did this. I was a part of the project to set up performance management system. Okay, what was the benefit to the company? Did it save cost? Did it increase productivity? Did it increase profitability? If somebody is from a finance background, I was a part of the project which implemented SAP. Okay, great. You introduced the SAP tool. What was the benefit of the company? Did it save cost? Did it increase process efficiency? Did it reduce the error rate? People usually don't talk about the outcome. They just talk about what was the project? What did I do? And I think it's like you're running on a treadmill. I know you're running, but what did you achieve? So I think that's one of the fundamentals of a resume. Keep it. Don't just talk about your successes. Talk about a couple of big failures also. I really, check for people's intellectual humility in my interviews. Are you willing to change your mind if I present you with a better data? A lot of people can't. Believe me, it looks easy, it sounds easy, it's not an easy thing to do. So talk about some of the things that you try, because the moment I see resumes where I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, you've done everything great in life. It's almost like greatest gift to mankind. It doesn't look real. It doesn't feel real. It's difficult to write your own resume. They all look the same to us. The moment someone puts an effort to write an original resume, it stands out for me because I know कुछ तो different है, कुछ तो original लिखा है. I think these are two things that I would recommend. Make it a one-pager. Don't really kind of make it a very long one. Yeah, I think these 2-3 tips can really make your resume stand out. There are more, but they'll have to be very customized. So if anybody wants to get in touch with me, I'm happy to kind of help you in kind of designing your particular resume for a particular role. Your resumes can also change depending on companies. What this company values. I'm not saying you change the facts. I'm saying you present it in a way that right things come up. So again, no standard answer, but yeah, some 2-3 principles, yes.
Sure. Thank you for that. Another question is, With the adoption of new normal in the entire globe, it is altogether going to be very difficult and hard time for businesses to run and grab opportunities. At the same time, individuals need to identify the right path and channel to direct their energy for benefit for both the businesses and their own. So what's your take on this?
Honestly, it's difficult to pinpoint and say what is going to be the way forward. I have to be really arrogant to say I know what you need to do. Uh, I think this has been a challenge which has existed for the longest time. You know, but I think the best you can do is find a place where what you really want to do and what the organization wants to achieve is overlapping. That's the ideal scenario. Believe me, Jeff Bezos or even Mark Zuckerberg do some things as a part of their role which they don't like. You know, we all do some things which we don't like. So what I would say is, as long as directionally you are going in that direction where you want to, and you're spending your day doing most times what you want to, I think you can consider it a win-win. You know, and there will be times, you know, and this is something that I've learned from sports. You know, and this is something that we had Rahul Dravid who had come to our office, and he was giving a lecture to our top management team, and that's where he said, and Rahul Dravid mentioned that there is nothing called a natural game. He says a lot of people come and Hardik Pandya comes and says, I want to play my natural game. He says there is nothing natural. If the team wants you to defend 10 balls, you stop your natural game and you do what is natural for the game. So I'm saying that's what we all loved about our heroes. They could adapt. So I'm saying don't fall in love with this trap of this is what I love, this is what company was. If it's not matching, there will be periods of time you'll have to do things which you don't like, but because company is more important. And there'll be times when company will be willing to put aside some of their things and put you in the pedestrian. But it's never going to be one-way traffic.
Right. So they have to look for opportunities where somewhere their individual goals align with the organizational goals, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another student from an undergraduate student. She's saying that as a first year student, how can I proceed to become an HR? She looks forward to these kind of roles, and which courses are preferred to become an HR?
Right. So depends. If you want to do organization psychology, I think Tata Institute of Social Sciences is one of the better colleges. You know, I have been taught by professors there, and I've kind of worked in their human lab. They've actually created a human lab to study human behavior. So I think if you really are interested in OD, which is organization development, I think this is a very good institute. Uh, uh, and of course, see, I can name all the best colleges in India, but I think it's very important that you figure out why do you want to become HR. And all the people who think I want to become HR because I love people, because I love talking to people, is not why you have to become HR. You know, so pick up a course in TIS. I would recommend. I think for me, that's I might have my biases, but I think that's one of the better colleges that you can get. I would recommend after your graduation, work for a while and then go for your MBA. I think once you have worked, and then when you go to a B school, I think the value is compounded. This is what I'm sharing from my personal experience. Rather than just doing all theory, and then practical all your life, I think it could be an interesting curve to do theory, practical, and then come back to practical.
Sure. Last question, but we have a lot of questions coming, but I think we have limited time with you. So very last question, though you've answered it in multiple ways, what career advice would you like to give to our fresh graduates ready to kickstart their career in the corporate world?
So I think I've covered in part some of it. I think
Yes.
be flexible. Be flexible about your route. Be fixed about your goal, but be flexible about your route to reach there. and especially in COVID, as theoretical as may sound, and something that has worked for me all my life, be authentic. In my first job, the CEO of Benetton, I was having lunch, and he used to come to office wearing denims, t-shirt, and chappals on a Harley Davidson. And I was like, why don't you're a CEO of Benetton? United Color Benetton is a global brand. Why don't you come suited booted? And he said, just get your brains to work, you know. And he just simplified things that, we have been conditioned to be in a certain way all our lives. This is how HR should do. This is what it should look like. This is what finance should do. This is what I think. If you can, for 1 second, truly be authentic of who you are, what values you bring, what are you passionate about, what have you studied, go with a very open mind. I think universally, these skills are really in the starting years, formative years. Choose your manager wisely is a great advice I'll give you, because your first few managers have a very strong impact on how you think. I have experienced that. Your first few years are impressionable, so choose a good manager. Uh, is also one advice I could give.
Sure. I think that is it. We're going to wrap up this session, and it was indeed a pleasure to have you today with us, though.
Yes, it was
I'm
pleasure
sure
to be there.
I'm sure our students have also
Thanks.
gained a lot from your approach and experiences, and we look forward to a continued, very, very continued association with you, a long-term one. On
Likewise.
behalf of all the directors, faculty members, students, and the entire AG fraternity, I thank you for your precious time and your presence in gracing us with all your knowledge.
Right. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
so much.
Garima. Thanks, Ravi. Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.